Okay, here I am in the Brahms First Sonata, Opus 1, C major, fourth movement, which I recall as being physically demanding. It jumps all over the place, that's one thing. It's full of double thirds. I see in this particular edition the double thirds are often written with 4/2s, so on the other hand, this editor has suggested 3/1 for the last, which makes the leap a little bit closer. I haven't any indication that I changed the editor's fingering. Once again, I'm astonished. I don't see in the first 2 pages here any fingering marking on my part, which, take it back. A brief little 5/4 at the bottom of the first page. So let's see what happens. Okay, so it's con fuoco, allegro con fuoco. The scherzo is allegro molto e con fuoco. This one is in 9/8, that was in 6/8. So there are certainly elements. I know Brahms was already trying to integrate things, and although there's no specific idée fixe here or something of that sort, there are binding thematic elements. So the beginning, that's about as clear as can be. There are other things like that one could analyze that show a relatedness among movements, but that's certainly the clearest one. I'm not convinced that 1/3 really works best, because I'm going from 1 to 1, so there's nothing gained. If I'm going from 2/4 to 1, well, there's a reuse of 2 there, but the thumb is kept free, which means the bottom part of the hand is free, and that toss is at least as likely to be efficient from 2/4 to 1/2/5 as 1/3 to 1/2/5. That's my particular feeling. Whoops. Okay. I think for now I'm going to stick with 4/2. At least I want an indication that I made a decision placed on the music, which I didn't do before. You'll notice I'm trying to play from memory, even though I haven't seen this in a long while. It's staring at the music isn't going to help me at all for all these leaps. So at least I can look and decide what the leap is. This may cause me to change my mind about the 1/3. When I have to go up to this first inversion chord, it seems to be easier to have the 1/3 to leap from. So I'm going to ponder that. I wonder, here's the third possibility, whether the 2/4 makes the first leap easier, and the 1/3 makes the second leap easier, and also makes it more distinguishable, the one from the other. Okay, I'm noticing right away that this movement is going to need to be learned while memorizing. It's just not particularly playable staring at the keyboard. I'm staring at the music. The other thing I've been doing is playing far too legato in the left hand. It's all written with dots. Feels more and more familiar. horns, what do you know? Lots of these horn fifths. Here's where I put in the fingering 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, which is really nice. That's right. This is, these sevenths are, I think, hysterical. I mean, I almost feel a Hollywood sense. He captured Hollywood 100 years early. Well, let's see, 1853 or so. Nah, not quite 100 years, maybe 75 years early. There's some wonderful, juicy harmonies there. But anyway, that's the second theme. The first theme works itself out in a lot of interesting ways, some of which don't stick yet. These horn fifths happen in various statements in various keys, and I've got to get a fingering and a gesture. That's easy. So with the black notes, a fingering suggests itself right away. This editor is, I think, very wise. Start, get to 1-3, but start again on 4-2, and then turn to 5-2. I like that a lot. Now the all white note, if I did it that way, you notice with the same fingering, works just as fine. Here, of course, not, because you wouldn't want to turn to 5-2 with a black note B flat. It's just too hard. He suggests 4-3-2, that works. Actually, anything else works too. You just toss your hand. So whether you're using the 2 or your hand needs to go to 3 or 4, the gesture will stay pretty well the same. So, I think the idea of keeping the same fingering is very nice. I'm going to, because this editor gives alternate fingerings, I'm going to circle the ones I've chosen. Third one, because of the B flat on the end, works better starting on 5th. Staying on 5th. This one needs 5 5-3, just goes standard double thirds in a row. Same. Here we're going to third finger black note. Again, using this 3-2-1, 3-2-1. And I've got to say I agree in this case that the simplicity of 3-2-1 takes precedence over the ungainliness of going to the thumb on G sharp. So 3-2-1, 3-2-1, 3-2-1, 3-2-1, that consistency works nicely. I've been trying very hard to move my hand to say 2, but I'm going to be using 2 on top, so I think just using thumb is better. Okay, this is kind of interesting. It goes from a second on top to a third to a fourth. 4-5-4-1, of course. So I'd probably go 4-4-4-3-3-2. And I have to think then. New group. Because I'm pivoting around the third. Then go here. Then this one. Yeah, the 1-3 I talked about before works well for this 5-note group. But when I'm going on, there's absolutely no advantage to doing that because it's part of a scale. It's part of it. So there's no time and too much complexity in adding a 1-3 at that point. So. Handwritten fingerings here. Which overrides the editor's fingerings, incidentally. I think since they're so faintly written, I will write over them in bold. Because currently I like them. Writing in bold doesn't mean they can't be erased. Yeah. Here's an unusual one because of the presence of the black note in the middle. Starting on 1-2 works very well. Is to toss to 2, but 2 is used just as 1 is. The sforzando is on the offbeat, so I don't need anything heavyweight. The 2 gives me this kind of a gesture, in and out. The 1 would give me the opposite, an inward gesture. If I really had a strong accent on the low C, middle C, I'd probably do thumb for sure, but in this case, the 2 rather gives me a little more offhand sense. It reminds me of the offbeat accent. Whoops. I like it. It's a nice arcing gesture. it's G, obviously in G major. So it's G sharp and F sharp here. You know what, I do like F natural, but that's not what he wrote. Because I like this chromaticism. So what? Another little detail, which could be a Chopin-like detail. In other words, there's a low D, an eighth note rest. Now, in Chopin's case, the reason I bring him up is that often Chopin will write a sustaining bass note and will show exactly what your hand should do, namely let go of the keyboard and move while the foot does the holding. So it's up to me. I see some pedal markings here, but none there, which would imply, if this is authentic, that Brahms wanted this as kind of sustained for the chords, the seventh chords, and then a clearing out. It's possible. And I'm missing a little detail that, to make the sevenths even more apparent, Brahms is putting the roots of those chords, like this, E minor seventh, putting those roots in the bass on the downbeat. Well, not always on the downbeat. In this case on the third. One. Oh, tricky Brahms. We're in 9/8, and he's writing in 6/8 in essence. 1, 2, 1. So it's fake downbeats. He could just as easily have written that in 6/8, but he chooses to write it in 9/8 with displacement. So reversity rather. It's interesting how faded all the pencil marks are. It's not from light exposure, I assure you. It's a new form of carbon dating. Complexity. You know, I can do 3, 2, 1 and keep my hand extended over this ninth, or I can go 2, 1, 1. One is a little smoother, one is a little more effortful. The smoother is a little more effortful. So I can make it smooth with the help of my foot. It's a little less effortful then. figure. Here it's continuous arpeggiation, so the fingering needs to be adjusted. And I wasn't adjusting it, so I was confronting a new demand with the same fingering, which is something that we always get suckered into. You have to make sure that you honor the uniqueness of whatever the new challenge is. Because that's where false assumptions come in. You assume that it's going to be the same, and you try to make it feel the same, and then it becomes untrustworthy because you throw a different solution at it. Than the one that works, from the one that works. Example of something where your attention goes to the left hand, even though that's not the melody. Because the right hand is not challenging hand, it's right under the right hand. The keys are under the right hand. Okay, I wrote a fingering. 2, 3, 4. Ah, not what I did. I need to be able to see it and not poke holes in my music. Now in C major. I'm just checking. Yeah, well. Theme, this time in G major. Very truncated, different approach entirely. Needing different fingerings too, because of the different mixes of black and white notes. Very faded fingering. That works very well. I'm going to override the editor's fingering. I think I like 4/2 all the way out, and then 3/1 just at the very end. 2 1, 3 2 1, 3 2 1. So that'd be very, that's why the editor didn't bother to even write anything, because he knew there wouldn't be a choice. 1 2 3 2 1 3 2 1. My body is rebelling against this fingering. That means that even though the right hand again has the melody, I've got to divert all my attention toward my left hand. Oh, this was nice. This hand division, I gotta say it's not original to me, and I don't know if it was original to my teacher, but my teacher, the wonderful Menachem Pressler at Indiana University of the Beaux-Arts trio, wrote in his inimitable hand, in blue pen, which was a standard, RH for right hand, to show his particular division. He's also the one who led me to this piece. So. Next iteration of this time in F. Because of the placement of the B flat right in the middle, again the fingering has to be altered. Even this early, Brahms is experimenting with polymeters. He's going between 9/8 and 6/8, so 1. Sometimes he does it and he doesn't notate it, as in that second theme where he writes effectively in 6/8, but it's scored in 9/8. So here it's scored at 9/8. Whoops. 6/8. There wouldn't be enough if 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 beats wouldn't be enough to fill out 9. So, notice also he does same kind of polymetric treatment in the Opus 8 trio, at least in the second version there. I have to remind myself whether he does it actually in the earlier version as well. That would be interesting chord. One of those chords that I have to think about a lot because getting my big fingers in among the black notes requires very specific consideration. So tilt of the hand, the notes all loud, and being there a little early helps a lot. Just in case you haven't had enough keys for this theme, here's D major. Of C, but C7. So we're expecting maybe F coming up. Oh, that's a surprise. For some reason, this reminds me much later of the famous Opus 118 number 2 intermezzo, where he goes to A and then in his reprise he goes to a B, and you feel the deliciousness of that one note change. So this A major on top is just kind of a shocking experience. So obviously he hasn't settled on C yet. Theme. So 5/4 works well here. 5/4 whoops. I said it before that I was going to avoid going 5/4 because of this B flat, but my body just played 5/4 and I was perfectly happy to move my arm in a little more to get to the B flat. So it's something to ponder. Wow. Okay. So much for my consistent inconsistency. In this case, I'd rather be consistent about the fingering and the gesture rather than consistent about finding the comfort shape for F major. So you never know, nor in my opinion should you know, if your body responds better to one solution over another. You don't argue with it. You don't say, oh, but I'm being inconsistent. You say, let the body make the decision if that's going to make the ultimate experience that much more comfortable or dependable. So, certainly early Brahms likes a lot, codas that speed up. Presto agitato non troppo. So how do you decide that? It's presto and it's agitato, but it's not too much either one of those. Non-committal, shall we say? Another key. Got to be careful. The easiest way of learning that is to do it exactly that way. Be aware of the middle line. Myself of a second finger here. I'm going 2 to 3, 2 to 3, 2 to 3, 3 to 4 probably. 3 to 4. Fan of making the fingering determine the hand shape. So it's a bunch of octaves filled in at the lower third, then a fifth. So I'm going from second finger to 3. I will almost always, if I have the chance, differentiate between this kind of a chord with the fifth on the bottom as opposed to the fourth on the bottom where I'll play second finger. So, and the reverse for the left hand. Third tells me what chord. I have to decide fingering wise in these broken chords. 1, 2, 3, 5 for this slightly uncomfortable, but I think they're going to be faster than turning my hand over. So I put up with the slight discomfort for the payoff. Yeah. Interesting that Brahms writes all of these things. The double thirds that he wrote for staccati at the beginning. When it's faster here, he writes them under slurs. So the editor has provided a legato finger, which I'm sure I would use. Now, of course, the octaves, they have dots. Whoops. And the grouping is obvious. When the direction changes, we start anew. So it's here, go to the E. And then, whoops. I seem to be saying whoops a lot. 5-note chord. There's no way I would play 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That would take too much time actually. So my hand. much bang for the buck on it too. Whoops. I think what I might do is 1 twice in the 4-note chord, and then 2-1. He writes a 4-note arpeggio, grace note arpeggio, a grace note in the right hand, and a broken chord in the left hand. So, don't know what it means. Nobody does, I guess. That he didn't. It means play a lot of C major. About the first chord fingering. I'm just going to do standard 5, 3, 2, 1. Second finger in the left hand. And grab the chord. I see. My teacher indicated an octave at the end. A nice 19th century rousing finish. It is kind of nice. Beautifully over the top. Okay, so it actually comes back more quickly. I think we all notice that things that are physically active like that tend to stick more quickly because they're designed for the body to react quickly. The body re-embraces its experiences. When things are slower and require you to savor them and mentally prepare yourself for all those decisions, that tends to be more challenging in a different way. So, looking forward to coming back to this. It's a fun movement, lots of fun to play, physically involving and high-spirited, and considering I work with 20-year-olds a lot, this is just a funny reminder that a very talented 20-year-old wrote this, and getting to celebrate it. Okay.